All right, let's dive right in. In the high-stakes world of Indian politics, all eyes are turning to Bihar for its 2025 Assembly election. The political temperature is already through the roof, and the first wave of opinion polls gives us a really fascinating sneak peek of what might be coming. So let's break down those numbers.
So this is the big question on everyone's mind, right? Who's got the early edge here? Are we looking at a clear winner, or is this thing just going to be way too close to call? Well, the polls are giving us some pretty interesting clues, and the story they're telling, it's not as simple as you might think.
Okay, first things first. To really get a handle on this election, you have to understand the alliances. In Bihar, politics is basically a team sport. Two major coalitions are getting ready to lock horns, so let's meet the main players.
So in one corner, you've got the incumbent NDA. This is the coalition led by the BJP, who governs nationally, and Chief Minister Nitish Kumar's JDU. And challenging them, you've got the Mahagathbandhan, or the Grand Alliance, which is really anchored by the RJD and the Congress Party. These are the two giants fighting for control of the state.
Now for the part everyone's been waiting for, the numbers. How are these alliances actually expected to do? Let's take a look at the projected seat tally. And just remember, that magic number to form a government in Bihar is 122.
And here we go. Based on an average of the recent polls, it looks like the NDA is projected to just cross that finish line with about 130 seats. The Mahagathbandhan is trailing with around 103, and then you've got about 10 seats for others. Now, on the surface, that looks like a pretty comfortable lead for the NDA, right?
But wait, that total number, it really only tells part of the story. The real dynamics are playing out inside the alliance. Who's actually pulling the weight here?
And this is where it gets really interesting. The BJP is projected to be the single largest party inside the NDA, maybe winning somewhere between 70 and 81 seats. Then you've got the JDU, followed by the smaller partners chipping in. This internal balance of power, it is absolutely crucial for the alliance's stability after the election.
Okay, so what about the challengers? Let's flip over and look at the breakdown for the Mahagathbandhan, because their numbers tell an equally compelling story.
Over on this side, the RJD is the undisputed heavyweight. They're projected to win almost as many seats as the BJP, somewhere in that 69 to 78 range. The left parties, especially the CPIM, are also bringing in a pretty significant number. And the Congress Party's performance? That could be a really critical factor for the alliance's final score.
Okay, so seats are one piece of the puzzle. But vote share, the percentage of total votes each side gets, that tells us a different and maybe even a more accurate story about popular support.
And this is where the whole thing gets truly fascinating. Look at that. The NDA is projected at 42% of the vote, but the Mahagathbandhan is right on its heels at 40%. Suddenly, that big seat difference we saw a minute ago looks a whole lot less secure.
So for the NDA, that number is 42%.
And for the Mahagathbandhan, a very, very close 40%.
So here's the crucial point. We are talking about a wafer-thin margin of just 2%. In an election, that is practically a statistical tie. A tiny swing in votes in just a few key places could totally change the final seat count.
And that super tight margin brings us to the others. See, in a race this close, the smaller parties can suddenly become incredibly powerful. They can end up playing the role of kingmaker.
I mean, think about it. This group, which includes parties like Prashant Kishore's Jan Suraj, AMIM, and the BSP, they're projected to win around 10 seats. Now, if neither of the big alliances gets a clear majority, these parties could hold the balance of power and literally decide who forms the next government.
So, after digging through all these numbers, the seats, the vote share, the kingmakers, what's the big picture? What's the main takeaway from these early polls?
Well, here it is in a nutshell. The NDA has an early advantage when you look at the seat projections, but that razor-thin margin in the vote share, it suggests this election is wide open. This is not a done deal, not by any means. It's a genuine cliffhanger in the making.
And that leaves us with this one final thought, doesn't it? In an election that's separated by just 2 percentage points, where every single constituency is going to be fiercely fought over, the fate of Bihar's next government could very well be decided by just a handful of seats. The battle for Bihar is on, and it is absolutely going to be one to watch.